Fact: the words we use to describe mental illnesses have changed greatly over time. What hasn't changed is the fact that mental illnesses are not the regular ups and downs of life. Mental illnesses create distress, don't go away on their own, and are real health problems with effective treatments. When someone breaks their arm, we wouldn't expect them to just get over it, nor would we blame them if they needed a cast, sling, or other help in their daily life while they recovered.
Mental illness will never affect me. Fact: all of us will be affected by mental illness. Researchers estimated that as many as 1 in 5 Canadians will experience a mental illness at some point in their life. You might not experience a mental illness yourself, but it is very likely that a family member, friend, and coworker will experience challenges.
Fact: it's true that some people who experience mental illnesses may act in ways that are unexpected or seem strange to others. We need to remember that the illness, not the person, is behind these behaviors. No one chooses to experience a mental illness. People who experience a change in their behavior due to a mental illness may feel extremely embarrassed or ashamed around others. It's also true that people with a history of mental illness are like anyone else. They may make poor choices or do something unexpected for reasons unrelated to symptoms of their illness.
Fact: no one factor can cause mental illnesses. Mental illnesses are complicated conditions that arise from a combination of genetics, biology, environment, and life experiences. Family members and loved ones do have a big role in support and recovery.
Facts: some people try to predict violence so they know what to avoid. However, the causes of violence are complicated. Researchers agree that mental illnesses are not a good predictor of violence. In fact, if we look at mental illnesses on their own, people who experience a mental illness are not more violent than people without a mental illness. Excluding people from communities is linked to violence, and people with mental illnesses are often among those who are excluded. It's also important to note that people who experience mental illnesses are much more likely to be victims of violence than to be violent.
Fact: people can and do recover from mental illnesses. Today there are many different kinds of treatments, services, and supports that can help. No one should expect to feel unwell forever. The fact is, people who experience mental illnesses can and do lead productive, engaged lives. They work, volunteer, or contribute their unique skills and abilities to their communities. Even when people experience mental illnesses that last for a long time, they can learn how to manage their symptoms so they can get back to their goals. If someone continues to experience many challenges, it may be a sign that different approaches or supports are needed.
Fact: stress impacts well-being, but this is true for everyone. People who experience mental illnesses may actually be better at managing stress than people who haven't experienced mental illnesses. Many people who experience mental illnesses learn skills like stress management and problem solving, so they can take care of stress before it affects their well-being. Taking care of yourself and asking for help when you need it are signs of strength, not weakness.
Whether you realize it or not, workplaces are filled with people who have experienced mental illnesses. Mental illnesses don't mean that someone is no longer capable of working. Some people benefit from changes at work to support their goals, but many people work with few supports from their employer. Most people, in fact, experience serious mental illnesses, want to work, but face systemic barriers to finding and keeping meaningful employment.
Fact: even children can experience mental illness. In fact, mental illness first appears when a person is young. Mental illness may look different in children than in adults, but they are a real concern. Mental illness can impact the way young people learn and build skills. which can lead to challenges in the future. Unfortunately, many children do not receive the help they need.
Fact: depression is never an inevitable part of aging. Older adults may have a greater risk of depression because they experience so many changes in roles in social networks. If an older adult experiences depression, they need the same support as anyone else.
These myths, and many more, exclude people with mental illnesses from our communities and create barriers to well-being. If we want to reduce the impact of mental illnesses on our communities, we need to learn the facts and start with our own assumptions and behaviors. You might ask yourself, what can I do about it? Changing attitudes and behaviors takes time. It might seem like one person can't possibly make a difference. Actually, we can all find small ways to help. First, we can all think about where our information comes from. News stories, TV shows, movies, and other media don't necessarily give you the whole story. And the stories there are usually sensational or shocking because that's what sells. But they don't necessarily represent most people's experiences. Thinking critically about where our information comes from can help us separate sensational stories from balanced points of view. Second, we can all support laws and practices in our communities that stop discrimination against people with mental illnesses and that promote inclusion. Third, we can all spend time with people who experience mental illnesses and to share and learn from each other. This is best when everyone is in an equal position of power. Volunteering with a community organization is a great way to connect with others.